Hello, hello. Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy, close to Halloween. This is the closest we're gonna get to Halloween on, the streams here on my channel. So happy Halloween, everyone. Or rather, happy Halloween. I don't know if that worked. Hello, 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 Limical. Hello, Autumn Brookings, or Autumn Brook Sings, rather. Hello, Mikey. Hello, Tom. Hello, Starry. I just turned the raids back on. Not back on. I never had them on before. But I think they are on. Also, looks like captions, however, are not. We're going to do a refresh on the captions. Yep, it's making me log in again. And captions, are they working now? Maybe not. Raids should be working. The echo worked. Awesome. Oh, this is very strange about the captions, though. I'm gonna reload again. Give it a sec. Let's see here. But yes, happy Halloween, everyone. I've had that reverb has been the one thing I've known how to do on my mixer, like, since before I started streaming. I've just never had a good reason to use it before, so there you go. Happy Halloween, Joe. Hello to Sarah. Hello to Meow. Hello to Bell Nye. Hello to Deoxyribo. Skeleton shirt, yes. And I don't... Maybe at some point we'll, I'll figure out a way to show you an extra element of this skeleton hoodie. Does it turn into a skull? Kind of. It's, it has, if I zipped it up, my headphones are in the way now, but it, like, zips up into... it can be like that. It's sort of a skeleton. It also has these really silly sunglasses on the skull, because I'm pretty sure that I got this in like 2014 when those sunglasses were stupidly in style. All right, still trying to fix the captions here. Basically, I say click to start, and then it says that they're going, but I don't see it on my end. So maybe someone can let me know if captions are working for them, and then we'll reevaluate that. Every skull needs a good pair of sunglasses. That's just facts. I agree. They just make them cool when they have sunglasses on. That's what always happens with sunglasses. They make someone cool. But yeah, Starry Ari, thank you for reminding me that my raids were disabled. Those were disabled from when I very started my channel and didn't understand what raiding was, and I thought it was more like collaborating. So I was like, someone is gonna show up on my stream, like, with their video and stuff, and I was like, I don't want that. And then someone explained to me what raiding actually was, and I forgot that I had turned that off to start with when I didn't understand what it was. So thank you for that. Okay, captions do not appear to be working. That's very strange. I'll log out again. I'm not really sure what else to do besides sort of like refreshing and logging in and out. But I'll try it one more time. Successfully authenticated. Click here to start. Yeah, let's see. Is it using the right microphone, maybe? Yeah, seems to be. I'll change it to here. Does that make a difference, perhaps? Turn it on and off again. See if that works. Yeah, hey, wow, that did it. I just had to find the right on and off again. I was turning a lot of things on and off again, but we got that. Okay, captions are going. We got a little bit of music in the background. Folks can let me know if they can hear the music, if it's too loud, too quiet. Am I too loud, too quiet? Let me know as I start working on today's follower spool. Yeah, we've got 7 new followers to the channel since the start of last stream. So gonna be adding, I believe, DMC color 720 for today's thread. No music for you or it's super quiet. All right, we'll turn it up a bit. And if I do that, I'm just going to take my headphone off because it sounds quite a bit louder for me. Okay. There seems to be debate about music volume. So we'll see how it goes. I'm also now like to the side of this microphone now that I'm sitting up where I'm going to be stitching. So let's move it down. Oh, now you can really see the spider friend. Yeah, here's my Halloween setup. We got a lot of Halloween stuff going on today. Yeah, it definitely depends what devices folks are using, but getting a general sentiment is helpful. Oh boy, I've got some stuff going on in the back here with the thread, because I have a loose thread from a half attempt at a sort of parking method. Alright, cool. I think we're probably at a decent level for the microphone then. So I was setting up the follower spool right before the stream, and like while the countdown was going, and I realized that I think when I first designed this in my head, I only meant to do maybe 5 or 6 across this way. I accidentally did 7. So, I mean, that doesn't super matter, but I know I measured the cloth based on how many I was going to do. And maybe I wrote that down somewhere. I didn't have time to find it just now since I only noticed it, you know, within like 2 minutes before the stream. But I'm going to have to figure that out at some point of how many I was supposed to do. Oh, and indeed I did mess that up. I wonder if I can pull that out. Let me put this in first. Oh, and now Starry raided! Thank you so much. I think there was some raid music going very quietly. I turned all of... My mic cut out. Oh, okay. Wow. Let's try this. Alright. We're gonna find out if it's working again. You're back. Cool. I think this XLR cable is just a little temperamental. I don't know exactly when I cut out. So, hello to all of you. Oh, hey, thank you, Autumn Rook Sings, for the follow as well. And I said a lot of thank yous while I think my mic was cut. But thank you to Ari for the raid. Thank you to all of you for follows and the greetings. Yeah, my voice fully left the building. I was so surprised by the raid. But hello. Maybe I'm turning up my volume a little bit. Just in case. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll get this working. Hello, Water Nymph. Go work and lurk. Music is louder than me now. Tom says perfect. Well, anyways, I feel I should welcome everyone who is rated instead of, I mean, tinkering with the volume is important. We gotta get that set. It's better now. But yeah, welcome to all of you from Ari's channel. What were you all doing over there? What was the vibe? We are just getting kicked off here, hence all of the volume things happening. Working all that out, but this is my Halloween stream. Most of my streams for the last 2 months have been vaguely Halloween themed, but we're going to be continuing a cross-stitch that I've been doing for a while here that is a Sleepy Hollow themed cross-stitch, so very thematic for the time. But at the moment, just working on the warm-up cross-stitch that I like to do at the start of every stream. Just having a little bit of trouble with it today, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And this warm-up cross-stitch is to represent all the follows and subs on the channel. You were co-working. Okay, perfect. So anyone who was co-working with Ari, this is a great stream to come back to. Sometimes I yap a little too much for co-working, perhaps, but folks bring other crafts to work on, and they also sometimes work on other things. Tom, thanks for subscribing for 2 months. What even is time? That means we can add some more to the some more shelf to the spool shelf. So thank you for that. Okay, it's a lot that I missed in the chat when my microphone cut out. But welcome again to all of Ari's folks. I hope you all have a fun continued experience if you want to stick around, but if you want to head out, totally get it. Especially Ari, I know you've been streaming for a while. Go take care of yourself. But welcome to everyone who wants to stick around. We're gonna do some Halloween-y cross-stitching in a bit. I've got my Halloween set. Just brought a lot of Halloween decorations into here. Admittedly, those were for the background of a YouTube video that hopefully is gonna go out in the next couple of days. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know me, hello. I don't think I've even really introduced myself to my own stream before. But hi, I'm Jack. I am a writer and YouTuber and online person, and I feel like I've been changing up what I do on the internet in recent years, so I don't have a good way of describing myself. But here on Twitch, we're doing some cross-stitching and some co-crafting. So if you're working on any kind of craft or any kind of co-working, let me know in the chat what you're working on, and we'll periodically sort of check in with each other on how we're doing with our projects. But like I said, this is the warm-up that we are doing, and I need a little bit more thread to finish the bottom of this spool. And what I do for this warm-up is each spool represents the number of followers gained since the start of last stream. So some of you who just came in from Ari's channel will be represented in next week's spool, because it's from start to start. But since last week, channel got 7 new followers, and so it's kind of like a temperature blanket. The number of followers gained, there's each range corresponds to a different floss color, thread color. And you can see that on one of the panels on my About, on my channel, if you're curious. But since this was 7, we're doing DMC 720 today, which is a kind of orangey yellow, appropriately, that I had set out somewhere. 720, where'd you go? Well, I don't need it quite yet, so we'll figure out that mystery in a bit. Alright. Autumn is making a friendship bracelet. That's very fun. What's the theme of your friendship bracelet? Hello, Boca. Welcome to the chat. Welcome over from Ari's stream. You're totally on time. In fact, you missed all the tech issues, so you're having the better experience showing up now. Ooh, a sticker by numbers book at the airport. Sticker by numbers. I don't know if I've seen that before. Do the stickers all form together into a larger painting, like a paint by numbers? Bell Nye's working on diamond painting and also eating peanut butter toast first. That's good. Get some food for you. Tom's working on the llama cross stitch. For now, lying down after eating too much dinner. Nice, nice. Oh. Okay, so the friendship bracelet Autumn's working on is the Welsh flag. That's cool. Yeah, especially incorporating the dragon. That sounds challenging and interesting. Wow, yeah, okay, so the stickers do create a bigger picture. It's just like painting by number, but with stickers. That is such a cool thing that I have never heard of before. Very, very cool. All right, so we gotta stitch the bottom of this spool here, so we get to some real stitching for the day. Oh no, a cardboard paper cut is the worst, Sarah. I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, Band-Aid, good. Backstitching on a Fairy by Le Petit Croix de Lucie. Nice. I'm not familiar with that pattern designer by name, but I bet if I saw it, I would recognize the style. Also, backstitching. Backstitching is a tough one for me to do, like, while distracted by something. I love how backstitching looks, but I'm still getting better at doing it and just have to concentrate, and it's not my favorite thing to do. Like, a lot of times cross-stitching for me is something to just, like, kind of zone out and relax and, like, do the same thing over and over and over again. But if there's, like, backstitching or a lot of switching colors involved or anything, then it's like, okay, now I need to sit down and, like, concentrate for a little bit to do this part. Joe's working on a ghastly cross-stitch by Pixeler Artich. Oh, and spent the week summiting the learning curve of Markup RXP. I think Limical might have also been doing that. I'm glad that I wasn't like necessarily trying to convince everyone to try Markup RXP, but that is the app that I use over here, and seems to be kind of the main option if you're on iOS. Limical is currently in markup hell. Sorry about that. It gets easier in the way that, like, the things that you need to do or want to do on a regular basis get easier. I think then every time you need to do something new, it's like learning again, summiting that mountain again. Ooh, lots of backstitching on Sarah's fairy design. You're in my thoughts. Power to you for that. Okay. So, now I need to find where that spool of 720 went. I literally made sure I had it right before the stream. Did it, like, fall off? Oop. There goes the camera. It's so weird. I have so much stuff in here. 720. Oh, I'm staring right at it. I just thought it was more yellow than it is, but here is our 720, bright orange appropriately for Halloween, to represent the 7 followers since last stream. Thank you all to those 7. Looks like some of those folks were HD Skywalker and Maze Makes, who we raided on my very first raid last week. And Maze Makes has an absolutely lovely channel. We were all sort of stunned by how similar their, like, stream and interests were to mine. It felt like a setup, but it was very genuinely a random raid. I did not know Maze Makes before, and it was such a lovely time. I hope all of you from Ari's channel are equally having a lovely time. Oh, Sarah, you still use paper and highlighter. See, I really liked the idea of cross-stitching being an offline analog kind of hobby when I picked it up. Now as I'm doing it on live stream, it is the most opposite of an offline analog hobby. I have so much technology around me right now. But, like, you know, for sitting down and doing it, like, while listening to a record or an audiobook or something, I liked the idea of not incorporating devices. So when I first heard that there were like apps that could help you keep track of your patterns, I was not into it. And then I started doing larger patterns, and keeping up with it on paper just wasn't working for me. So I always have my iPad when I'm cross-stitching, which I don't love, but it does really work for my brain and keeping track of things. So that's where I'm at. Joe, I think being able to highlight and mark things off on Markup RXP is, I mean, the main thing you need. It does have a lot of features, but I think those are mostly like to kind of customize how you want patterns to show up and things like that. It is very robust with the settings, but like, I wouldn't say that you're not using it to its fullest extent if you're using the main items. Melby, how did you add sunglasses to the waffle guy? I don't think I did that. But there are a couple of, you remind me now with the sunglasses on the waffle guy, that there are some new emotes that I added today. I think there's just one more emote at the free level, but there's a couple of more for subscribers. But I think I'm trying to remember exactly what I did. I think there's some candy for Halloween at the free level. I still don't know where the sunglasses came from. Ayo, yeah, there's the new emotes. Meow's showing off. So candy, and then the horseshoe, and the bookshelf, which only makes sense to people who were here last week. It's in the bits rewards. Oh, it's just standard. See, this is where I'm a Twitch rookie, and I'm like, what? How do you do that? Okay, well, awesome. That's very, very cool. I like how the waffle guy looks with sunglasses on. Like we said, sunglasses make everyone cooler. Like this skeleton with his sunglasses. Bam. I'm having such trouble showing these to the camera. So the horseshoe from last week, I kind of forgot how we got there, but we decided that that's going to be our new symbol for a like safe space for queer and trans people, since the rainbows sometimes are used by people who don't actually like do the work of creating a safe space, and so you can't always trust the rainbow anymore. Oh, it's because I heard this fun fact that horseshoes used to be these like talismans people would use to keep witches away, and we were having a long discussion about how like a lot of us who are queer and trans might have been accused of things like witchcraft hundreds of years ago, because often people accused were maybe just a little bit different or like outcasts in some way. So this is how we got around to the horseshoe is now our symbol of being a safe space for queer and trans people, or just showing like, hello, I am also one of you. Welcome. And then it's really hard to tell, but I tried to make a little bookshelf thing because a la this warm-up cross-stitch, I think it was Tom who referred to subscribers as shelfies, because you get a little stitch to for every subscriber to help build the shelf that these spools sit on. So we're like, subscribers, maybe we're gonna jokingly call shelfies sometimes, but at the very least, now you have a shelfie emoticon. Emote, not emoticon. Wow, see, this is what I say about being a Twitch rookie. Still getting the vernacular down sometimes. My computer just gave me the warning about ejecting a disk before disconnecting it, and it is a disk that I disconnected like 3 hours ago. So thanks for the warning, computer. Super, super helpful. Okay, this can go over here. We gotta do a little bit of cleaning of my area. But I'll give you that nice look while we do. I'll also say, like, with emotes in general, I might sometimes give them a little bit of makeovers, because I haven't been finding exactly the look that I want for all of them right now, but I like some of the ideas I have. And that goes double for subscriber badges, because I did just add 1 month and 2 month subscriber badges. And I don't know, I can't see them showing up everywhere. I think it might just be because a lot of people have the founding first thing instead of the badge, but I will tell you what they are. And the subscriber badge is a pumpkin seed, and the 2-month is a pumpkin seed that starts having a little tiny bit of a green, like, seedling coming out of it. And over the months, the seed's gonna keep growing and growing and growing into a pumpkin. And then maybe it'll become a jack-o'-lantern. But that's what's gonna go on with the subscriber badges. So, I think that's fun. They look okay right now, but I want to work on making them look a little nicer. Maybe getting the help of like an artist friend at some point. And on the note of subscribers, I'm gonna add to the subscriber shelf from Tom resubbing. I think I've decided that the shelf needs to keep growing. So for the time being, I think you get an X for like each month that you're subscribed, not just for the first time you subscribe. Maybe I need to go back and add some other folks based on having said that. Or I'll say it's a limited time thing. I don't know. I gotta decide. But clearly, I'm streaming enough that we keep getting these spools and we need to build the shelf. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Also, some ads are starting soon, I think. Just trying to adjust our focus here. I feel like the lighting went down weirdly. Also, sometimes it's a little bit the connection. Oh, and hello to Foxco. You're here. You remembered. I love it. I was just seeing if the ads are playing yet or not. I know we got an ad coming soon, so I'm sort of vamping a little until then. Okay, pre-roll ads. Disabled for 32 minutes. Ad break in progress. All right. Well, hello to all the subscribers. As that ad break goes, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do we'll do Tom's two little stitches here while the ads play. And then we'll switch over to Sleepy Hollow once the ads are done. But yeah. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed in the past or more recently. Not only snitches who get stitches. Yeah, I keep trying to come up with like, what is a, like, I don't know, play on that phrase. Because anytime not anytime, but often when I like say stitches in certain ways, I think of that phrase. I'm like, well, that's not what I'm trying to say at all. All right, but there we go. Yay, two new stitches for Tom's 2 months of resubscribing. And now we're done with the warm-up cross stitch. So once folks come back, we'll get into Sleepy Hollow. Hello, welcome back from the ads, everyone. Welcome. Hello to Foxco, coming in not new, but for the first time in a few weeks. Hello, welcome back. Oh, Bell Nye finished Wayward. What a show, right? And that ending. They had me in the first half, not gonna lie, of that ending of that show. Alright, so this is our follower spool shelf for the day. Gonna replace this and start the main pattern of the day. It is time to get into Sleepy Hollow. Do some adjustments. Oh, yeah, so I was thinking with the Sleepy Hollow pattern. Oh, okay, we'll have to change some things up here. There's still a lot to go. As you can see from the spider web covered stitch count in the upper right, this pattern we're like, what, a third of the way through? So not gonna finish by Halloween. That's how cross-stitching goes. But I do think that it could be fun to do another jack-o'-lantern head. So if you look at the lower right, that is the picture of the finished pattern done by the Witchy Stitcher, by the way, who sells patterns on Etsy and also, I think, on their website at the Witchy Stitcher. Lots of great patterns. If you like the vibe of this Sleepy Hollow one, the Witchy Stitcher has some very good patterns. But we have done 2 of the jack-o'-lanterns on the pattern, and I was like, well, you know what? It's Halloween. I feel like we should do this final jack-o'-lantern in the pattern today. So I'm gonna start with the outline, and we'll go from there. And the outline of the jack-o'-lantern's head is like right down here, I think. Yeah, it's like right by the feet. So we'll be working over here. I'm gonna see how much in focus we can get. It's really not wanting to get too close, but that's okay. POV me at work tomorrow morning after having the day off today. Well, hey, congrats on the day off today. I'm actually taking a half a day tomorrow, just to squeeze in a little bit more of some Halloween fun. Don't forget to incorporate asymmetry for realism. Joe, don't you worry. It'll happen even without us trying. In fact, maybe if I tried for it, this would be the first jack-o'-lantern on the pattern that is not all lumpy and messed up. Wouldn't that be great? Fox goes done another half of a spider leg on the spider that you've been crocheting. Congratulations. I fully relate, though, to the thing of, like, working hard and doing so much on a project, and then you're still so far from it being done. It's just, like, keeps taking longer and longer every time. I feel like that's a lot of what has been happening in my life lately for different things I've been working on, where it's like, okay, admittedly, there were portions of time I wasn't doing the work I needed to be doing. I wasn't focusing. But then, like, I was putting in so much good work on stuff and just still had so much to do. It's like, ugh, how does that happen? If it's not lumpy, wouldn't that mean it won't match at all? It won't all match. Yes, that is exactly what it means, and I might have said something backwards when I was talking. Matching is something that you need to do in your life. Yeah, Tom, the payoff on small projects is very quick. I think that's why I sometimes have larger projects that I've been working on for like a year, because I'll start them and then sort of do smaller ones in between just to get that burst of like, okay, great, I accomplished something. Sometimes my gifts, not sometimes, almost always, like, gifts that I give to people are simpler patterns. And so it's like, I'll have bigger projects that are for me and my enjoyment and satisfaction that I'll be working on for a long time. And then in between, I will do gifts for people that are a little bit more manageable. Occasionally, I've done ones that are like 16,000 stitches, especially like baby announcements or wedding announcements. I can get too ambitious with those. Okay, now here's a question. How much did I mess something up over here that is going to affect how I begin this? But I think we'll just do, if we go up 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna go over 4, but really 8, so 1 and 1, and 2 and 2, and 3 and 3, and 4 and 4, and then 5 and 5 to get started right here. which is in line with that above, so that should be good. I have no idea how close to the tree this is supposed to be because it's on the other page, and I might just confuse myself if I try to look on the other page of the pattern. For those of you, we were talking, some people just started using the same app. If you are importing PDFs, if you are able to get the PDFs on a single page before you import, that is much easier than the PDF where the pattern is across multiple pages. And that was an option from this pattern creator. I have the single page one, but for some reason it was not exporting correctly. And I feel like that's something I probably could have figured out with markup RXP tutorials, but I just like never took the time to do it. Okay, let's double check again if I got to the right place. So we have this first stitch. We have 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4. And we are on 1, 2, 3. This all looks as correct as it's going to be. Autumn, I feel that about working on a wedding gift that's over a year late. One of my friends did say that, like, the etiquette for weddings is that you can give a gift anytime within the first year. It doesn't, like, have to be at the wedding. And I have taken that to heart for all of the wedding announcements, or wedding, like, cross-stitch projects that I have done. Tom, learning to judge how big a project will be. I mean, there is the math involved of, like, converting stitches to inches with the count that you're doing on Ada. I will also say 123 Stitch, which is the online store I was mentioning last week or the week before. Great small business that I just noticed the spider crawling across the screen. It distracted me. 123 Stitch, great small business, has a lot of good products, and they do have a brick and mortar store in North Texas. But they also have a stitch calculator that will sort of tell you, like, if it's this many stitches on this type of cloth, then you can expect it will be this many inches big, or like you need to cut this many inches of cloth if you want this much bleed around the end. So check out their calculator. That might help you out. You know what? Since we're starting this jack-o'-lantern, I feel like I should reveal my jack-o'-lantern. It is time for the jack-o'-lantern. Maybe we'll bring the skeleton back, but at the moment I'm getting quite warm. So transitioning from skeleton to jack-o'-lantern. Take that verb however you will. And someone asked if I had any special beverage tonight, and I do. I specifically picked out Pumpkinhead. Got a little horse. It's like a Headless Horseman beer. So that's what we're doing tonight. I'm gonna attempt to not get things everywhere as I open this. Perfect. And even though I'm excited about the Headless Horseman on the label to be thematic, just so I don't have this branded bottle in the shot all the time, we have this skull goblet that I'm gonna pour it into. Everything has to be Halloween themed in my life. Pumpkin-y, pumpkin-heady. I guess pumpkin-heady for a beer would sort of describe the foam. It's a pun, it has multiple meanings. Okay, wait, that can stay there. Alright, let's get some stitching done. Just like quickly glancing back up at some of the chat. Yeah, 4 to 6 photo size versus 18 by 24 prog. I have never done a stitch that's cross stitch that's like 18 by 24, but I have some patterns saved that are quite large like that, and I have just kind of wondered, like, is this something I would be capable of? Should I try it? How many years would it take me to complete this? Because with cross-stitching, we are sometimes talking in actual years. It's long projects. I mean, will I finish this one by next Halloween? I wonder. Because I think in November, as much as I like the idea of Halloween being kind of year-round for me, I think I might, for streams, move on to a different project come November. But maybe we'll bring the Headless Horseman back on occasion. Cut to Titanic, it's been 84 years meme. Yup. If I celebrate Christmas, it's Nightmare Before Christmas vibes. True, true. I need to rewatch Nightmare Before Christmas because I only saw it like once or twice growing up, really. My mom was always convinced I'd be too scared of it because it had the word nightmare in it, so I didn't really watch it. I'm mostly familiar with it by the fact that like its merchandise is just ubiquitous everywhere. But I do think that like the idea of there being all of these worlds for different holidays and a guy who's Jack, King of the Pumpkin Patch, becoming obsessed with all of these other holidays is really just like the story of my life. It's so much like it's just so similar to who I am that I think I need to become more familiar with The Nightmare Before Christmas. Like I think I will really enjoy it much more than I did as a child, perhaps. So yeah, really need to get into that. I am also of the school of thought that Nightmare Before Christmas is maybe like a Thanksgiving movie. Like, I remember trying to watch it on October 1st one time, and I was like, this is more of a Christmas movie, but it's not totally a Christmas movie, so maybe it's a November movie. I'm not entirely positive how I feel about that hot take, but one hot take that I do feel very positive about is that Meet Me in St. Louis should be a Thanksgiving watch. Because that is a movie that a lot of people say is a Christmas movie, but it takes place all year round. Like the whole point of it is that it goes for an entire calendar year. And therefore, I feel like, let's say it's Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving doesn't have many movies. And I think one that does show Thanksgiving, we could give that to Thanksgiving, you know? Limical, you hadn't seen A Nightmare Before Christmas? Did we talk about this? Like, I feel like that would have come up recently when we were at a Nightmare Before Christmas themed corn maze. And what, just neither of us mentioned the fact that we haven't really seen it. That's, wow. That was weird of us. Not gonna lie. Deoxyribo, I mean, that I do know. The music and the animation is so good. I'm a big fan of that style of animation. I also like things that are like, you know, creepy in that kind of like creepy but also like sweet and fun category. And the music I do actually listen to, like This Is Halloween. I like covers of it a lot, but like, yeah, it's always on some of my Halloween playlists. So I feel like I'm a big admirer of Nightmare Before Christmas without actually having seen it that many times. Tom, yeah, you do need to watch Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown before October ends. It is the law. I would make it the law if I were in government. I also haven't watched it yet this year. I might actually watch it later tonight. That might be the plan. Like that was something I had already been considering. But I have listened to the soundtrack so many times this month, both on streaming and I have the pumpkin-shaped vinyl record of the soundtrack of It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which is one of my favorite possessions because, like, I think it's... I have heard people joke a lot about, like, having shaped vinyl records, and it doesn't happen in reality too often. So the fact that the Peanuts merchandise team, who seems to just have licensing deals with everyone on planet Earth. The fact that they actually did it is so cool. I really, really love it. I still haven't watched Coraline Belnai. That was one that I did want to see. I was like really excited to see it, like when it was in theaters, and then I just didn't, and now I still haven't, and now I'm a little less excited to see it. It's hard to consume any Neil Gaiman content, so I'm extra sad that I didn't see it before. We'll put it that way. It's a pretty round pumpkin, the pumpkin-shaped vinyl. And basically what it does is, like, I mean, it's a shorter album, so there's not as many songs on each side. So it's already a little smaller, and then they have this, like, extra, like, unrecorded or, like, unstamped part that goes around the perimeter. And if you have, like, an auto record player, this is something I was reminded of this morning for the first time this year. You can't just hit start and stop because the needle gets confused about where to go, so you have to manually put the needle out or within the pumpkin range. I don't know if they still sell it. It might have been a Record Store Day exclusive, but I feel like I've never successfully gotten the Record Store Day albums I actually got. So I feel like I would really remember if that's when I got it. But it was definitely, like, limited edition. Like, you might still be able to find it somewhere, but it's not necessarily, like, it's not something they're continuing to release. Oh, thank you for the reminder, Joe, that I need to continue the story of Ichabod Crane as you sit crisscross applesauce on the carpet for a story. Yeah, we might do that at some point. Ooh, pumpkin vinyl, online somewhere for $30. That's probably about what I paid for it. Nice. Well done. Good sleuthing. Okay, I might get into the story, but let me just make sure. So I'm gonna have 9 stitches on this row here. And we've done 6. So let's do 3 more stitches. And then check in on the counter. I gotta pick up my pace a little if I think we're doing a jack-o'-lantern at all tonight. Like, maybe we'll just do this outline, the black outline, but I won't do the black inside, and then we'll see where we can get with the orange. And while I finish these 3 stitches, quick check-in. Can anyone hear the music? I assume if it was too loud, I would have been told again. This, like, I think it's the XLR cable. There's something with either the cable or my microphone that, and this has been an issue, like, for a couple of years when I do podcast recordings, like, it's not just for streaming, where sometimes it works perfectly and sounds beautiful, and then other times it doesn't work at all, and that's really inconvenient for me, like, trying to have, like, notes for myself of, like, consistently where to set the levels at and that kind of thing. It's very frustrating. And in fact, if I manage to get this YouTube video and podcast up in the next couple of days that I've been working on, you will notice that I'm peaking quite high, and the audio quality is not what I would like it to be. And there are many reasons for that I'm just continuing to try to troubleshoot. But if you've ever been a fan of my YouTube channel, that is to be a fan of inconsistent quality. Okay, music. Audible, good level. Present, spooky tunes, fine. I'm louder than the music. It's a fair bit louder than before, but couldn't really hear it before. Okay, cool. I think that's what I was shooting for, was a little bit louder than it's been, because it seems like it's been too quiet. YouTube video and podcast, yeah. Though, to set your expectations with that, let's go back over here. The video and the podcast are the same thing. I am releasing the audio of the video as a podcast, or rather, to be more specific, I am releasing the podcast as a YouTube video. My newsletter, First Draft Theater, that I've put out like 6 issues of over 2 years, I always record as a podcast. And I decided that since what I write in that newsletter is pretty similar to the kind of YouTube videos sort of that I've made before, but definitely that I want to be making in the future, I am trying a thing where I'm sort of blending all 3 together. It did not go as well as I wanted this time. I will openly say to those of you here on Twitch with me, I have a lot more sort of ambition for what I want to do, with like where I want to take my YouTube videos, and I am actually like actively in this moment still pretty bummed about some of the stuff that I don't think I'm gonna be able to put into this video because it's about Halloween, so it has to go out this week. I'm on a deadline. But I think the content of it is good, and I think, you know, when you make big changes to things, you gotta just take small steps and you'll get there eventually. And especially when it is unfortunately not your full-time job to be a YouTuber, that you gotta just do what you can. It's like Twitch. Like, I've been making very small updates each week. You know, we got a couple of new emotes this week. Had some weeks where there were not any updates because when things are just like, Twitch and YouTube are somewhere in between a hobby and like contract work or something for me. But, you know, to say things that are a hobby, you can't devote all of your time to them, unfortunately. I know all of us crafters wish that we could devote all of our time to our hobbies. What a world that would be. I would love that. My name on YouTube is the same as here. Yes, if you look up in the upper left, every couple of minutes, the little flag with my name that says Jackson Bird changes to my social media handle, which is Jack is not a bird. And maybe I don't have social links on my Twitch page anywhere yet. I keep meaning to do that and to make like some chat commands so you can get my social links. But as I was just saying, baby steps when things are a hobby or not a full-time job. But yes, Jack is not a bird is my YouTube channel. That's my Instagram. That's my Blue Sky. Oh, you requested my book from the library a couple months ago, and it showed up on Libby today. Bell Nye, that's so exciting. Also, just really rubbing it in that I haven't written a second book yet by your typo. It was like a Freudian slip for my lack of writing. I am finally, like, earnestly working on a book, though. For many years, it's been like, what is this book gonna be? And, like, sort of trying to write other ones, but I'm finally, like, actually working on one. And maybe in, like, the first quarter or half of next year, I will actually have a book proposal. And then things will get real. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. What is my full-time job, if I don't mind asking? I don't exactly have a full-time job. I have been a freelancer since about 2018. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The closest to a full-time job that I had in the last several years was when I worked for a podcast network. I was a podcast host. Most of the work that I have done, both full-time and like contract or part-time, has been in the media space, either as like a content creator or as like running social media. I've done a lot of like being a communications director and being a social media manager, but I'm trying to move away from that because I don't like social media. I mean, obviously I like certain parts of the internet and like making art and community on the internet, but I don't like having to run social media for brands. Yeah, these days I do some part-time work that's like more admin data entry kind of stuff, and that's a newer thing for me that's becoming a little bit more consistent now, which is why I'm feeling so optimistic about also being able to be more consistent with some of my content, because for the first time in many years, my like work that's gonna pay the bills is a little bit more consistent. I've been doing a lot of really odd jobs and like gigs and stuff the last few years, and so it's made it really hard to commit to a schedule for like making YouTube videos or writing a book or just doing Twitch or like whatever I want to do, because my schedule, like my daily schedule and then like weekly and monthly schedule would like change every 6 weeks or something. I was in experimental theater. I was in a theater company in New York. And so that was like being a late night performer. But it was also on a cyclical schedule. Anyways, I'm getting like way too in the weeds, but the point is, kind of like doing YouTube and like public speaking and writing and stuff is an element of my job still. So that's why I was like, it's in between hobby and working for me, but some stuff is very much hobby. Yeah, that was a long answer. I'm gonna check out the chat again. Found my book on the Green audio app, but in the meantime, is the Green audio app, is that Audible? Or is that Amazon? Amazon owns Audible, right? I should know these things, but I forgot these things. Skygem Speaks is working on a book too. It is hard, right? It is so hard. Oh, Spotify is the Green app, duh. My family recently canceled our Spotify plan, so I have recently switched to Tidal. That is a new thing in my life. I feel good about it ethically. I feel about it in practice. Okay, also looks like we have an ad break coming up in about 5 seconds, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of stitching and stop gabbing, stop yapping while people are here. So Sarah, I will answer Sarah's question when folks get back. Okay. Let's catch up on the stitch counter too while we're here. So down this row, we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. That's like a sound that I could put on my mixer. Is the count? No, that's silly. I don't need to do that. I have some ideas for like other sounds to put on my mixer that I could play, like shock jock DJ style on Twitch streams, and just haven't gotten there yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 21. All right. Get up to 21, and that will account for the spool shelf that we did earlier. Ah! I keep hitting this today. I definitely have this like set up closer to my hands or something than I did last week. I need to put like some gaff tape on the floor, maybe. Once I figure out the optimal placement of things, I should put some tape on the ground so that I can remember exactly where it goes. Oh, Tom, your podcast is hosted on Spotify. Yeah, free places. Simplecast might have a free level. Substack, you can technically host podcasts for free, but Substack is also full of Nazis, so like I've been trying to get off of Substack as a creator. It just hasn't. They are unfortunately the most accessible for creators, so I haven't done that yet. I am overdue for like checking back on where there are free places to host podcasts that are not Spotify or Substack. So Tom, if I come across one, I will let you know. Hello everyone, welcome back from the ads. Yeah, Substack, and we were talking about Spotify and Substack both being terrible and trying to divest from them both as consumers and creators. It's a bummer. What did I say I was going to do when everyone came back? A while ago I was going to tell the story of Ichabod Crane, but there was something else too. I don't know. Oh, someone had that was it. Sarah asked what kind of book that I wrote. And can't you tell I'm an author with that grammar? Yes, Joe, I was going to answer Sarah's question. That was it. I wrote a memoir because I'm a trans person who wrote a memoir. I'm a trans YouTuber who wrote a memoir. I'm a cliche. It's also like has some educational elements to it. It's called Sorted, S-O-R-T-E-D, not sorted like the The Sordid Lives of a Soap Opera. But yeah, it's a memoir and educational guide, and just focused on like my gender and coming out as trans. For anyone who doesn't know that. Cliches fine if they're well written. Well, you know, jury's out on that one, if my book is well written or not. I certainly have a fair amount of critiques about it, but it was an awesome experience to like go through publishing. That was a really fun thing. And also, like, I don't finish projects that often unless I have a deadline. And so I don't think I would have finished this ever if I didn't get a book contract. So that was a cool thing. And hence being 6 years later and still not having written another book yet, because I didn't stumble into a book contract again. 4.3 out of 5 stars on Storygraph. Hey, I'll take that, sure. Thank you, Tom, for saying that my book is not cliche. Belle, nah, you should totally judge the book by its cover. It is an amazing cover. The cover design was done by Sarah Smith, who is a cover designer and artist in her own right, I believe. And when I came up with the title, which was not the original title, I sort of suggested the like check boxes thing that are on the cover, but Sarah came up with the eraser, and that made all the difference. Yeah, I was very lucky to be published already. And now I'm in the sophomore slump. Oh, Autumn! I think you're the Autumn I was thinking you might be. Hi. Maybe. But if you were at LeakyCon, yeah, that was very, very fun reading a chapter of it at LeakyCon, where so many people, like, so many friends and so many people I had gotten to know who meant so much to a lot of, like, the stories in the book. So that was very, very cool. And Limical, by a total coincidence, total accident, might have been one of the very first people to read the whole book, because DFTBA's warehouse got some early copies, and she happened to be there. And that was a very weird thing. Actually, yeah, Limical saw my book in person before I did. Nuts. So nuts that happened. Publishing is weird. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, Belnai. That was, I think, the audiobook team's idea, to put in an extra PDF to go with the audiobook, because there's just, like, some extra elements of the book that were sort of hard to put into audio form. Reading the audiobook was also very fun. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, I did an extra one, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure did. I think we're probably all nerds here, Belnai, so you're in safe company. We need the horseshoe symbol for nerds. What would that be? Oh, but Sky, what is your book about? I meant to ask and then got all distracted. What book are you writing, Sky? Okay, in the meantime, should I get into the story of Ichabod Crane? Who was it? Oh, I think it was Dor who was asking. I don't know if Dor is here this week, but that's okay. I mean, I only say that because if I say we wait another week again, then it won't be Halloween. So I think we might just have to get into it. I also don't know how much I can remember, though the book is sitting behind me back there, back there. I could get up and get it to fact check. Where to begin? Wow, Tom, that is like quite an honor to hear. I'm trying to remember let's see, when I got some dental work done, or when I got my wisdom teeth out, I listened to the Of Montreal album, Hissing Fauna, Are You the Destroyer? Because I think I just wanted to get into like a weird, a weird headspace. But wow, I'm glad that my voice is calming to you. That's very cool, and I hope that your dental work went well. I assume it did, since it was a few months ago at this point. Okay, Sky's book is a coming-of-age book about growing up queer in an immigrant family from a culture that's hugely queerphobic. Heavy, but has sweet points. Not autobiographical, but does draw on personal experience. That sounds so good and so needed right now. Like, what a story that needs to be told and needs some more, like, I say positive representation. I know it sounds like it's probably going to be a pretty heavy story, but, like, told by someone with those experiences and, like, with respect and care for those stories. So positive representation in that way of, like, not damaging representation. But I can also imagine that is kind of intense to be writing. So, like, I totally understand the writing is hard thing. It's hard even when you don't have that emotional connection, and then when you do, oof. So, like, best of luck. Keep your strength up, keep your spirits up, and, like, keep us updated. I'm sure we would all love to read it when it comes out. So good luck. And Dor is here. What good timing, because Dor, we were just saying that we need to tell the story of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which you had asked about, because it's a very American story, and you didn't know it. And yes, the clocks went back in the UK this weekend. I am so familiar with that, because for whatever reason, I have the UK daylight savings on my Google Calendar, and it's always at a different time from the US, and the way that it shows up on my calendar doesn't immediately say if it's the UK or the US, and so I thought our daylight saving time was ending this weekend. And I had, like, a big event that I did yesterday, and I, like, almost emailed someone who was helping to run the event to be like, hey, in the announcements this week, can you remind people that the clocks are turning back, and so, like, we need to just, like, you know, I don't want anyone to be late, let's give them a reminder. And then I double checked and I was like, nope, in America, or in the US, in most US states, the clocks are not turning back until next weekend. But hey, PSA, for anyone in the States who forgot or was not aware, that's happening this weekend. We're gonna get an extra hour of sleep to make up for the fact that it's gonna be so dark so early for so long. Okay, Joe, you've been waiting for a story. I'm just not positive how well I can tell this story, but I can try, especially because I'm doing it from memory, and folks more familiar with it might correct me. All right, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, or hold on. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. So, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is a short story that takes place in the very sleepy village of Sleepy Hollow. I believe it takes place in the 1700s, and this is just a very quiet little town in New York, just outside of the big city. And a new teacher arrives in town. He's the schoolmaster, and his name is Ichabod Crane. And he is this, like, I have a connection in my head I want to make, but then I'm like, maybe I don't say it. But listen, he feels a little bit like Severus Snape in his, like, teen years. He's like this gangly dude, kind of awkward, but also, like, kind of creepy and selfish a little bit. In some portrayals of Sleepy Hollow, like cartoons and the Johnny Depp version, just to bring up every problematic person we can on this stream, he's like a likable character. He does not come across as likable in the books. But in any case, he is the new schoolmaster in Sleepy Hollow, back when it was like one-room schools. And so he lived in the schoolhouse, and what used to happen back in those days was the teacher would sort of just have, like, a bedroom in the back of the one-room schoolhouse, and so families in the community would take it in turn to, like, host the teacher for dinner. And Ichabod Crane's favorite house to go to was the house of the richest people in town, because obviously they had the best food. And they were it's on the tip of my tongue, Van something? Van Tassels. They were the Van Tassels. And the Van Tassels had a very pretty daughter who was probably in her late teens, because she was very much like every guy in town wanted Katrina Von Tassel. And so, of course, Ichabod Crane, when he shows up to Sleepy Hollow and he starts going to dinner at the Van Tassels, he's like, I gotta marry Katrina Von Tassel. I think he has a whole plan in his head about, like, what their marriage is gonna be like. I'm just counting 4, 5, 6, 7. We're good here still. But one night when he's at dinner, and this is more than just them hosting him for dinner. I think they have this big, like, maybe harvest festival. It's like fall time, and he comes into contact with Brom Bones, this guy named Brom Bones, and all of his, like, crony friends. And Brom Bones is clearly, like, the popular dude in Sleepy Hollow. And they maybe have a bit of a, like, conflict interaction, but definitely it's clear that, like, Brom Bones is also into Katrina Von Tassel, and maybe I don't think they're, like, officially betrothed, maybe they're courting or something, but Ichabod Crane gets, like, totally butthurt about Brom Bones existing and being into Katrina and maybe giving him a bit of a hard time. And either at this party or sometime around there. Also, hello, Rogan. Welcome, welcome. We are telling the story of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow by my memory. It's turning into a bit of, like, a drunk history thing of a challenge for me. Alright, so the other important thing that happens, either at that party, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're gonna do one more after this and then start going up. As he learns about the legend of Sleepy Hollow. And the legend of Sleepy Hollow is that there was maybe like a Revolutionary War battle? That feels too... There was some war in early America. Maybe it was the French and Indian War? Gosh, I'm really showing how unfamiliar with, like, 18th century history I am. But there was some battle of a larger war that took place in or around Sleepy Hollow. And it was a war that included the Hessians. And I always forget what a Hessian is, but I think it is a German Catholic or a German Protestant? Is some group of people, I think from Germany, or like modern day Germany, who allied with someone on some side of a war in early America. Learn history with me. I really know my history. Anyways, there was like a Hessian soldier in this battle. Something happened and his head got cut off. He was decapitated. And yeah, people who were on a war on a side. Exactly, Sarah. One of them got his head cut off and he died. And people say that he still roams the grounds of the old Sleepy Hollow church, the old Dutch church, which coincidentally you can still visit to this day in Sleepy Hollow. And it is the oldest continually running church in the US. It still operates. And so Ichabod Crane hears this spooky story, and he's like, whatever. But then he keeps going about his day, daydreaming about Katrina Von Tassel and how rich he's gonna be if he marries her, and how much amazing food he will always have if he marries Katrina Von Tassel. And he's also going about his time, you know, teaching students and whatever for his job. And then there's some night, and some conflict happens that I can't remember. But he ends up getting, like, really disoriented. He's, like, out and about late at night. Maybe he heard some, like, spooky sounds at the schoolhouse or something. I don't totally remember. And he starts being, like, chased throughout town. Like, most everyone in town is asleep. But he's getting chased by someone on a horse. And it sort of seems like the spirits that he has been told about in these legends of Sleepy Hollow might be chasing him. They might be coming after him. He's getting into this, like, really disoriented spirit, like, state of mind where he is not entirely sure what is real and what is supernatural. And he notices at some point in this chase, I think as he's crossing over this bridge over the river in Sleepy Hollow, that the person chasing him on a horse, they're both on horses, I think, at this point, the person chasing him doesn't have a head. And so clearly it must be the ghost of this Hessian soldier that he heard about. And then, because it is a novella, it has a very ambiguous ending, as most of them do, and it's sort of like the scary scene like gets cut off sort of in the middle of it. I think what happens is he like ends up near the churchyard and a pumpkin gets thrown at him. And then it sort of like cuts to the next day, and this like pumpkin is found near the churchyard, and Ichabod Crane, the schoolmaster, has disappeared from town. No one knows where he went, and no one ever hears from him again. And so you get to kind of like believe what you want, but things are set up in the story for you to either think that he was killed by this spirit, this ghost of the Hessian soldier, the Headless Horseman, or perhaps a prank happened. I forget how exactly it happens, but and maybe this is what starts the conflict. Brom Bones and his friends are like somehow involved, and so it kind of seems like actually they just pretended to be the Hessian soldier to run Ichabod Crane out of town, and Ichabod Crane leaves after like they chase him and they throw the pumpkin at him because he gets scared, and then he gets embarrassed and he realizes he will never get Katrina Tassel, and so he just sort of leaves town. But you can kind of believe whichever way you want on the story. But one of the important things to know is the way that the Horseman is depicted here. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Ninata64. The way that the Horseman is depicted on the pattern in the lower right of the screen right now is where he's holding the jack-o'-lantern aloft in his hand as he's about to throw it at Ichabod Crane. The jack-o'-lantern is not his head as depicted on this, where like the Headless Horseman is sometimes depicted as having a jack-o'-lantern for his head. It's a very common depiction, but it was never his head. He was headless, and he threw the pumpkin at Ichabod Crane. That was a very chaotic, lacking in details, and long-winded version of the legend of Sleepy Hollow. I will say it is a novella. It's pretty short. It is written in like, early 1800s language, but even despite that, it's still a pretty quick read. So if you want to fill in the gaps of my knowledge there, you should check it out from your local library or download the PDF from the internet because, it's in the public domain. It's very old. That was the definitive version of the story. 200 years later, Mr. Crane stars on an episode of Bones. Wait, does he? Cause Dor, I just started watching Bones. I've seen most of season 1. My mom got really into it, so I've seen some episodes from later. But I also partially started watching it because I heard that the guy who plays Angel, whatever that actor's name is, but he's the lead actor, co-actor, supporting actor, whatever, in Bones. His character is a descendant of John Wilkes Booth, which was very interesting to me. And now you're telling me that Mr. Crane is on an episode of Bones too, so there's many reasons for me to keep watching Bones, apparently. The chat was wrapped. Thank you. David Boreans. Thank you, Tom. That is his name. Oh, you didn't watch the Mr. Crane episodes. Well, I'm still going to check into it. German soldiers who fought on the side of the British in the Revolutionary War. Yes, thank you, Tom. I do believe something about the Protestant Catholic thing played into that, but maybe not specifically for them. It might have just been part of a larger context. Old Dutch sour cream and onion flavor is amazing. That's great. Yeah, I feel like the term Old Dutch is quite common, specifically in areas that the Dutch once colonized or were close to. Third favorite character died or got written off on Bones. Ugh, that sounds like Torchwood. Actually, Bones reminds me of Torchwood in a lot of ways. That's one thing I keep thinking of as I watch it. 2, 3, 4, 5. How many did I do here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we need to go over. Uh-oh. 1, 2, 3. Nope, I just kept counting wrong. I bet all of you watched me count 6 squares as 5 multiple times in a row. But the good news is that I caught that, and now I'm not gonna mess it up. In this way, at least. Door does not see the Torchwood bones similarly. It's admittedly a bit of a stretch. I think it's really based on vibes for me. Something about like the scientist-y people working in this vaguely underground space, and then it's like a Monster of the Week kind of crime show-ish thing, and like more sexual than you would maybe expect for an early aughts show oftentimes. I think that's kind of where, and then something about David Boreanaz's presence too. Like, I know that he is not playing Angel, but something about the fact that he was the leading man on a spin-off of a show he was a main character on is very like Captain Jack Harkness to me, even though Bones and Angel and Buffy are totally separate. But yeah. Wait, who finished the backstitch? Sarah, congrats on finishing the backstitching. That is so impressive. Huge congrats. Brennan is someone in Bones to totally get attached to. I get that. All right, we are done with this black outline. We're gonna move on to some orange. It is time for some orange pumpkining. Let's go. Just gotta finish this floss. Oh no, it's so annoying. Only one piece of the floss came through, and now I have to get it on the needle again. Bones isn't underground, they have a glass ceiling. Oh, fair enough. It looks very underground. I will also admit, in addition to having only mostly seen the first season, it's like a show that I watch while distracted. It's like I don't pay super close attention to it, hence never noticing that it is not underground. Oh, ceiling's a big plot. Okay, yeah, see, so if I get to it later, that will not be a thing that I misunderstand or forget. I think I've sort of mentioned it before, but just sort of as a addendum or epilogue to the Legend of Sleepy Hollow story. It's a weird one because it is a fictional story, but Sleepy Hollow is a real place, and not only that, but the Van Tassel family was a real family in the town of Sleepy Hollow. And so you can not only go to the old Dutch church to like tour it, it's one room, but they do sort of like, they have docents there kind of guiding you through. But in the churchyard, the graveyard of the old Dutch church, are the headstones for Katrina Von Tassel and the other Van Tassel family members. So Washington Irving like wrote it about an actual family in the town. And Washington Irving was like a big man about town in Sleepy Hollow, and he actually helped like commission the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which is this huge, beautiful cemetery in Sleepy Hollow. It's got these rolling hills, and it was designed in this period of time in the 1900s, or excuse me, 19th century, in the 1800s, when there was a big push for very large and like beautifully designed cemeteries with lots of trees and grass, because this was in sort of the time when the Industrial Revolution and the building of all the factories was leading to a lot of pollution, and a lot of people didn't have green spaces. So there's this idea to make really like large and extravagant cemeteries that people could use as parks. So people used to like go picnic and play in cemeteries, and not like in a goth way that we might think of it now, but like that was literally the urban planning like thought. There was, this is a way for us to have green space. And Sleepy Hollow Cemetery to this day is a very good example of that, because it's beautiful. And that was one of the big like projects around town that Washington Irving helped to do. Sleepy Hollow also has gone back and forth, like, I think literally over the centuries in referring to themselves as Sleepy Hollow. And I want to say, but I think I just heard this from a tour guide at one point, and I haven't fact checked it, but I want to say that Washington Irving maybe like pushed against it being called Sleepy Hollow because of his book. Oh no, I know what it is. People wanted to call the cemetery the Irving Cemetery. And he was like, please don't. I think that might be it. But again, I'm just going off of memory from like a tour that I took at some point. They do lantern tours in the cemetery at night. And I went on one once, and our tour guide was this like older lesbian woman who just turned it into like a history of labor rights in America. I was like, wow, this is amazing. This turned out better than I could have thought. Okay, did the music end? We gotta get some vibey music going as we start the orange of the pumpkin. Does this mean Sleepy Hollow is a fanfic? Yeah, I mean, in some ways I don't feel confident saying yes to that in terms of my knowledge of it, but in terms of like how I like to define fanfiction in broad ways, hell yeah, I would say it absolutely is. Autumn finished another dragon in the repeating pattern. Congratulations. How many dragons are there? Oh, you said repeating pattern. So, but let us know. Ads are coming up, but let us know in the chat how many dragons are in your repeating pattern. And while the ads go, I am going to figure out what color orange we need here. Looks like 919. That's the first one I found. Yay. 919. A little dark orange here. Excuse me. Excuse me. Starting to get hiccup burps. Nicole reached Psalm 41 status of this project in too deep. That's great. I like that joke. As someone who listens to that song so much, I'm surprised I've never like thought to phrase something in that way. I am now. Good joke, Alora. We're gonna keep using that one. Autumn Brook Sings is at 3 dragons of a total of probably 4 to 5. That's more than halfway done. That's pretty good. Dora got distracted from Spooky Mansion cross-stitch to do a Dita de los Muertos skull diamond painting. That's awesome. I don't have Dia de los Muertos plans at the moment. I'm putting this floss back on the wrong bobbin. No, I'm mixing my oranges. Having grown up in Texas, Dia de los Muertos was a like fairly like regular and present holiday. And then fortunately when I moved to New York, some of my close friends were like also grew up from Texas and or from Mexican families, and so continued to be a thing that I would regularly celebrate, and I do really love it. I love the time to just like honor loved ones who have passed, particularly if they passed away like within the last year. It's just a really nice time to like reflect and honor them. So I like doing that. Need to come up with some plans for that again, if not this year, making it a regular thing again, because it's nice. But that's also very cool that you're doing a Spooky Mansion cross-stitch. Or no, but you're doing your Skull Diamond painting of it now. I like that. Ooh, very cool that you got invited to a Dia de los Muertos dinner. Are you gonna try to finish the diamond painting in time for the dinner and like take it? So that'd be cool. You could put it on the ofrenda. Welcome back from the ads, everyone who has gone for the ads. We are going to start on the orange of this jack-o'-lantern. Let's go. Nice. I love how many people are working on gifts for folks today. Which, I mean, with the holidays coming up, I think a lot of us are working on GIFs because you gotta start early on those. Sky's working on knitting a sweater. Finally done with the torso. Mind-numbing 9.5 stitches of stockinette knit stitch. Now you're onto the hem. And then the sleeves and the neck. Okay, sounds like you're moving right along. That's a lot to be done. Sarah, yes, one of the bonuses of being a subscriber is not seeing ads. So it's a cool trade-off. Also, if you use Prime Gaming or like have Amazon Prime, you get a free sub each month that you pick, what channel you might want to use that free sub for. So that is also always an option. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Prime subs also skip the ads. I don't think there's a difference between those. But I'm also new to Twitch, so I get things wrong sometimes. Yeah, Prime subs act just like regular subs. Cool, that's what I thought. Pelnai says, thanks to my dad for the Prime sub. Hell yeah, love that. Thanks to your dad too, I should say, really. Oh, so fun to be stitching some orange after having done black on this pattern for so long. Although, like I was discussing earlier, like we were saying with like back stitching can be really annoying, switching colors a lot can be really annoying. So it has actually been kind of nice, both on stream and off stream, when I've been working on this pattern, and it's like, I don't have to put any thought into this in terms of getting ready to stitch. Like, it's just black. I'm just gonna keep stitching black, and when I run out of floss, I do more black. Like, that's been pretty great. So we are, what does my countdown say? Where's my hands? 4 days away from Halloween. What is everyone doing for Halloween? Or what are you doing in the lead up to Halloween? Who's watching Nightmare Before Christmas? Who's watching Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town or some scary movies? Is anyone going to parties? I think we talked last week about some of the like trick-or-treater plans that some people have. Oh, Sarah, right, you went to see Night Vale live. Was Jake there? You probably wouldn't know, but how was the show? How was Night Vale live? Your dad thought Twitch was some kind of scam. I mean, like, fair, but also, it's funny how that happens with things that have that are so giant as Twitch is, and then some people have just never heard of it. Night Vale was great, yay! Oh, Door's going to Halloween pub quiz. I have hosted Halloween pub quizzes many times. I was actually reflecting that this is like probably the first Halloween in a decade that I'm not doing some kind of like live performance or hosting for Halloween. There were a few years where I actually did it on Halloween. But I always, like, in the days surrounding Halloween, I usually would be, like, hosting trivia or doing, like, a performance with my experimental theater company, and now I'm just chilling. It's interesting. What are you going, if you want to say, what are you going in costume as? Or, oh, you mentioned you were working on, was it someone from Sanders' Sides was your Halloween costume? Weather was my favorite. Oh, yes, Sarah, I did take me a minute. Folks who have not gotten into Night Vale before, which is an amazing fiction podcast that's been around for so many years at this point. It's like a fictional radio broadcast, and so they do a thing where they're like, and now the weather, but what the weather actually is like cool indie bands that they're spotlighting. It's like music. It's just a chance to play some music from cool artists. So that's awesome that the weather was the favorite of the live weathers that you've seen. Cecil does have great stage presence. It's true. I did a YouTube video with Cecil. I'm just remembering. I think it's still live. I've like worked with or hung out with Cecil in a handful of ways, but that is one way that anyone who wanted to could go check out. If you just go to my YouTube channel and maybe search Cecil Baldwin. It was a short-lived series I did called Queer Story, where I was sort of just like interviewing people with different queer and trans experiences. And so Cecil talked about being HIV positive, and it was just like a really lovely conversation that we had and filmed and shared with people. So if that is of interest to anyone, Night Vale fan or otherwise, you can go check that out on my YouTube channel. It's probably from like 2016 or something. It's an old video. Oh, Door. Okay, Vampires SMP Cleo, but from the Minecraft YouTube series. Okay. I still don't know what that means, but I got it now. Tom, I think playing some horror games with friends and eating something pumpkin-based is an amazing way to spend Halloween. I mean, on the actual day of Halloween, I think I'm just gonna be like watching Halloween-y stuff and eating something pumpkin-themed. I think I'm gonna try to make like pumpkin pizzas, or really like pumpkin calzones, where you sort of fold the dough into a pumpkin shape, and then the inside is like marinara and mozzarella. We're gonna see how that goes. Oh, Sarah, I really like that Night Vale headcanon. That's really good. Belnai's gonna carve a pumpkin or two. Love that. I don't know if I'm gonna carve my pumpkins this year. I was talking last week about how I was gonna carve them for a YouTube video. That's part of why it hasn't happened. And at this point, I don't think that's the direction that this YouTube video is gonna have the time to go. And I think in general, I just might not have time to carve a pumpkin. But I've purchased many pumpkins this year, so I'm just enjoying them as pumpkins. Oh, you're going as the creator character, Zombie Cleo. Well, that's a great name, Zombie Cleo. And a very Halloween-y name. Pumpkin calzone. Yeah, it's Ben Wyatt and me combined to make the most delicious food ever. I've just seen like Instagram videos of it a few times, to be honest. But it seems like you just get like a small, maybe like this big size pizza dough, maybe a little flatter than you usually would for pizza dough, and then you put the mozzarella and the marinara and any other like toppings or seasonings that you'd want in it, and then you kind of whoop it up, and then you got to use some baking twine probably to wrap around to make kind of the ridges of the pumpkin, and you like tie it up and then you cook it, and then it comes out and you can take the twine off and it's pumpkin shaped. That's vaguely how I think it works. I do need to look up a recipe a little bit more before I really try it, but that's my understanding of the pumpkin calzone. Someone else can correct me on this, but Tom, you're saying you might get a mini pumpkin to carve. Mini pumpkins like Boo pumpkins or sugar pie pumpkins, which are the ones that are about this size, are a little bit more difficult to carve, I believe. The rind is kind of different. The carving pumpkins that we typically buy that are bigger are like bred to be good for carving, or like the species are selected for it. I might be wrong there, but that has been my understanding in the past. But you could totally get a mini one to like paint or something. You can also just try carving, and maybe I'm totally wrong. Rogan's gonna be working on Halloween and not even Halloween related, and your job doesn't allow for costumes. Okay, Rogan, it sounds like you need to have Halloween on a different day. Like, I'm actually doing a lot of my Halloween stuff on Thursday, so maybe you can have a different day that you celebrate Halloween. You watch a scary movie or have some candy. Yeah, Limical, that's exactly what I was thinking was the time that we tried to carve a butternut squash. I mean, you successfully did it, I think, depending on the definition of success, but like the task was completed. It happened. It was so hard. I don't recommend carving a butternut squash to anyone. Oh, Dor, you're not allowed to carve pumpkins. That is sad. Do you think you could paint pumpkins, or is it like a no pumpkins allowed kind of thing? Because like painting them is sometimes an even cooler situation. Oh, traveling, Rogan. Such a bummer. But that's okay, because, you know, all of October, all of fall is a good time to do spooky autumnal things. Autumn can hardly even chop a butternut squash. I mean, same. They're so big. You gotta have such a big knife. Oh, you're allergic to pumpkin. I would say go for the squash, but one, I just said don't carve a squash, and two, they are at least a little bit similar, so maybe you're also allergic to squash. Sarah's doing snack week at work. Yeah, being a manufacturing plant, costumes, not a good idea. That could get out of hand real easily. But snack week sounds, I'm into that. You just get extra snacks at work. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Ooh, Sarah, what a great recommendation for Evan and Caitlin on YouTube. They have several years of trying to preserve jack-o'-lanterns in resin. I love that. I'm gonna have to check that out. I've never heard of them. Sounds like one where I've maybe, like, stumbled across their videos before, but by name I don't recognize them. Belle and I went to a pumpkin patch / petting zoo farm and learned how large horses are. Yeah, horses be large. I went to a cidery this weekend and saw a horse. That horse didn't feel like a particularly huge horse, but it also wasn't like a miniature horse. It was no Lil Sebastian. It was just an average-sized horse, I would say. But some horses can get really big. I saw, like, Clydesdales at the state fair last year. Oh my gosh, they were so big. It was really mind-blowing how big they were. And I remember their weights were listed, and I think they weighed more than some of the giant pumpkins that were also at this state fair. Yeah, it was absolutely nuts how big these horses were. Ooh, historical estate for a Halloween maze. That sounds very cool, Dor. See, in the UK, they've got a much longer history of, like, hedge mazes and stuff versus our relatively new corn mazes here in the States. I gotta say, this piece of floss is going to be exactly the length I needed it to be for this section of orange, and I am just feeling so satisfied by that. It is such a feeling of calm satisfaction. Horses can totally be scary. I think riding a horse, which I've done as a kid, but not as an adult, like, that would scare me. I feel like there's a lot that could go wrong there. I just said that about the floss, but we're gonna turn this over, and I think that it actually might have gotten tangled at some point, and that's why it worked out. Oh no, it's just the Ada cloth got all tangled up. Or it's not Ada cloth, this is linen. What am I saying? Here, move the camera up so you can see what I'm doing, perhaps. There we go. We're up here. Woo! Yeah, see this white? That's what I was feeling. Where's my needle, though? Oh no. Oh no! It fully fell on the ground. Okay, we're going back. Let's go back to here. I'm just gonna get a second needle. I'll find that needle later. Oh, yeah, Tom, 1 stitch left to go. I've been there. I mean, you try to make it stretch as far as you can. You play chicken with it, and then sometimes you chicken too close to the sun. And the chicken's feathers melt. The wax melts. Okay. I'm gonna pull it all the way through this time. And then we'll go here. Finish this off. I can pull it out. Ooh! Okay. Dor, our resident Brit, went to a corn maze, or maze for an assignment. Yeah, I'm glad you got to experience the very American tradition. Okay, I think it's gonna break things to try to pull this out, so we're just gonna keep it in here and snip it off. Oh, yeah, Bill Nye, sorry you didn't catch a corn maze this year. I was about to say I haven't. I've done 1. By the end of the week, I might have done 3 corn mazes. TBD. Going hard on corn mazes this year in my life, apparently. Whew. Got to get a little sleepy. Okay, how did I have this before? Yeah, jack-o'-lantern. You're at 3 already, Polemical. And that's impressive because I know we both got rained out of different corn maze plans earlier this month. So impressive that you're already up to 3 again. Ugh. So I was saying, you can't see as much on the live stream, but I set all of this up for the YouTube video that I filmed. And then I was like, wait, this will look awesome on live stream. But the main takeaway is I set up all these like Halloween string lights, and I think they look so cool, like behind the bookshelf and the card catalog and stuff. And I was like, this would be really cool to install some other kind of like glowing lighting to have back there for live streaming. I think it'd be cool for Twitch streams to have a little bit of like glowing light back there. So I gotta look into that, see how I can make that maybe work somehow. Where'd this bobbin go? Ugh. Alright, we gotta start this other orange color. That's exciting. The uwoos! We're back to uwoos! 921! Uwoo time! Oh, a corn maze with actors. Would be funny if the actors were also scared. I feel like if I were acting in like a corn maze or like a haunted space, I could totally get scared sometimes. Especially if like actors were low-key playing pranks on each other, like not necessarily in a dangerous way, but just like, you know, sometimes in comedy you like to try to make someone else break character. And I feel like that could happen in like haunted places, like you try to scare each other as actors. Sarah, that is exactly what the plan would be, actually. I have some LED lights just like that. They appear to be broken. So first step is to try to troubleshoot that. And if those are broken, then we'll see what budget allows to maybe get some new ones. But that's exactly what I want to do. And then, yeah, we can have different colors for different occasions. Be fun. Oh, so true, Bell Nye, to be scared of the public, like, having a panic reaction and that ending up in, like, harming you in some way. And I'm like, I know that at the good ones of these, the actors have all kinds of, like, training that they've gone through on how to handle situations like that, but it still sounds like a real challenge. I acted in it wasn't a haunted hike, but it was like a performance as people like hiked through and we like went through sort of some of the history of Halloween. And that was a really cool experience to just sort of like get a sense of what it's like to like you have to like run through back channels of the woods to like beat the audience to the next scene. And there was a good amount of like audience interaction and like improv and ad-libbing and stuff while still trying to stick to the story. So I got a little bit of a taste of what something like that would be like, but I'm not a huge haunted house person. I guess I'm maybe tempted to say I would rather work at one than attend one, because I think so much of the like the horror is dispelled when you know how it all works. I don't really like going to them as an audience member. Yeah, Rogan, fancy lighting on the bookshelves. I had it so briefly, like towards the end of time in my old apartment. There's maybe like 3 YouTube videos I made where I have the fancy lighting on my bookshelves. And by the way, when I say fancy lighting, like I think I bought the LED lights at a dollar store or something. They did not work super well, hence why they did not survive the move, it seems. Fancy lights that I could like connect to a stream deck or something, that would be the way to go. I like, you can only watch Twitch streamers and like tutorials on Twitch for so long without just really wanting a stream deck. And I'm just like, I don't have enough use cases for one to justify buying one yet. But I really, really want it. And then I could change the lighting and all kinds of things. Ooh, Rogan putting like strip lighting above a ceiling molding. I think I tried to, or I didn't ever try to do that, but I thought about doing that at my last place, and I thought it would maybe look cool. So that is cool to hear that it does look cool. Oh, hey, thanks for the raid, Ghost Light. Love the username. And welcome to all the raiders. Hello, Sleepy Mouths. From Niagara Falls. Hello, Ghostlight. Haunted house has arrived. We were just talking about haunted houses. Hello, Deverai. Hello, Snow Pick 2. What timing? Did we summon you? Did you know we were talking about haunted houses? We were slightly talking about being scared of haunted houses, though. Hello, Ghost Kitty. Yeah, welcome to all the ghosts. Love these little ghost emotes. We don't have any ghost ones. We have candy, though. We could give you candy emotes in exchange for your ghosts. A little trick-or-treat situation. You got the trick, we'll bring the treat. If we say haunted house 3 times, they appear. I feel like we probably said it 3 times. That's what happened. We Beetlejuiced you to get here. But hello, welcome to all the raiders. We're just doing some cross-stitching here. What were you up to, Ghost Light? Ooh, spooky. Yeah, what was going on your stream? We're doing, this is a Headless Horseman Sleepy Hollow cross-stitch that we're doing while just chatting about Halloween, because it's my favorite thing to chat about. Chilling and playing Celeste. Nice. Love it. We have slightly chill vibes here. We have more chill vibes than, like, people who play, you know, very action-oriented video games, but slightly less chill than a lot of crafters, because I just yap on and can get a little chaotic in how I don't know, break things, break tech stuff all the time. We're gonna snooze this ad because we just had folks come in from Ghost Light's stream, so let's not do ads just yet. I genuinely do love that your name is Ghost Light, and looked like we had another ghost username who just joined. I am reading a book right now called Ghostland, and it's a non-fiction book. It's a history of America in its haunted places, and it's written by a professor of like literature, kind of, I think. And so he just like has such cool, like thoughtful takeaways about how we think about ghosts and ghost stories and like why they stick with us, and not necessarily in a supernatural way, just like in a philosophical way. So if that sounds of interest to anyone, I like butchered a quote from it on last week's stream, but it's called Ghostland by Colin Dickey. Strong recommend if you're looking for a non-fiction read this week of Halloween. Chill and chatty as opposed to crafty chaos. I think that's accurate, Dora. I like that. But yeah, you can see, for folks who are curious, the completed pattern is in the lower right-hand corner. This is a pattern by a pattern designer called the Witchy Stitcher. Very apropos for the Halloween vibes. And you can track my progress right next to that. Actually need to update our progress counter soon. Hey, Ghostlight, thank you for the follow. Please raid and run. Totally get it. Thank you for the raid. I hope you get lots of rest after what seems like was a very fun and good stream. So happy Halloween, Ghostlight, if you celebrate, but thank you, and yeah, have a good night if it is night where you are. Happy time zone. Ooh, okay, Door's asking what everyone's favorite folklore is. That is not something I have a ready answer for. But I feel like, for me, it's totally gonna be something of, like, things that helped influence parts of holidays we still celebrate, is probably what I would think. Curious what other folks have to say about their favorite folklore. Or I also am a big fan of, like, folklore from, like, the Southwest, or a lot of, like, Native American folklore. Having grown up in the Southwest, a lot of our, like, storybooks and things were various, like, Native American legends, and so those were always very cool to me as a kid. Latched onto those. Did I slightly mess this up? No, I think we're doing okay. I'm not gonna say anything more than that, though, so I don't jinx it. For folks who are just joining, or this is one of your first streams, I have messed up basically every jack-o'-lantern in this pattern so far. And so that's kind of the expectation at this point, is to mess it up. The Arizona Red Ghost. I do not recognize that one by name, but it sounds cool. I wonder if the Arizona Red Ghost will turn up in the book that I'm reading right now. I do think there's a chapter that's about something in Arizona, so that might be it. That could be it. I haven't updated our stitch counter in a while. Okay, so we have done a total of 120 stitches. Oh, I gotta add 100 to this counter. Okay. Oh, wait. I remember I learned the easier way to do this last week. Totally easier way. We're gonna do the easy way. Work smarter, not harder. Bam. Oh. Oh, Rogan says in the Northwest there's a lot of folklore around ravens and crows, especially in indigenous communities. I don't think I had actively paid attention to crows, like, being a strong part of, like, autumn. Like, that's maybe when they're most active. And ravens too, I think, but just, like, corvids in general. Another book recommendation, and this is a very strong book recommendation that I've maybe recommended elsewhere recently, but it might be my favorite read of the year so far, is Forest Euphoria, subtitle The Abounding Queerness of Nature. And it is by Patricia Cation, and there's a whole chapter on crows. So, Rogan, I was really getting into learning about crows from Patricia Cation. Patricia Cation is a mycologist, I think, like mostly studies fungi. But yeah, it's just a book about how queer nature is, and like a little bit of like memoir thrown in. It's kind of creative nonfiction. It's a beautiful book. I like saved, like underlined so many quotes from it. Yeah, immediate ad, right? I immediate ad to the TBR. Literally, I think I just saw someone post a picture of the cover on Blue Sky and then like immediately added it to my library request list. I don't think I even read the description of it. I was just like, based on that subtitle and the beautiful cover, I know I will love this. I don't even need to question it. I'm getting it from the library right now. Okay, we got some more folklore. Skeleton on the Camel is what the Arizona Red Ghost is. Okay, I will bear that in mind as I continue reading Ghostland and see if it comes up. Melby's mostly lived in the Northwest, or excuse me, Midwest. But in northern Wisconsin, adjusting to the Anishinaabe tales and warnings. Oh, you listen to their warnings. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, Belnai's got some Japanese folklore for us. Strange humanoid turtle that lives in the water will snatch you and drown. And is probably to get kids to not go in unsupervised. I mean, that's a good lesson. Good moral to have there. Cap'n for Animal Crossing people. Not familiar. I am not, as we've established, not a huge gamer. I don't get the references. Rogan, yeah, the cover's beautiful. It's got little like gold in it. Oh, ad is starting soon, or perhaps for some people has already begun. Ah, okay, so once again, for folks who are learning the markup RXP app, this is an instance in which it really failed. The grid from the pattern did not sync onto the grid of the app. You can see like the orange and the black like combining there. So I'll just have to deal with that. I tried to fix it as well as I could when I was importing the pattern. I fussed with it a lot, and this was the best I got it, but now we're getting to a mistake place. Ghost Kitty, the title. So the two books I've recommended, not sure what you're asking about. Ghostland by Colin Dickey, and oh, I should put it in the chat because there's an add-on right now. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Book Rex. Ghostland by Colin Dickey and Forest Euphoria by Patricia Cation. Oh, okay, Alora, this is your current problem. So... Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, going from like tweaking in Photoshop to then importing to markup RXP was a little trickier. But there is a setting you can find from the home page that might help you if you've not already discovered this. So you go to the home page, and then in main settings, we go down to like import quality. Yeah, and you want to hit extra mode, and that will help with like some poorer quality PDFs, or maybe if you've like scanned a paper one to import it. Extra mode will help you out. I usually keep it on all the time. I'm actually not sure why it's off. But it does like, it significantly slows down the importing process. So there's usually like a, are you sure you want to do extra mode thing? But that makes a big difference. And then, yeah, fussing with it on the import. And then if you go up to settings, when you're in the project, there's like adjust grid and rescan, and you can mess with a lot of this stuff. Adjusting grid and rescanning is good. Oh, and welcome back from the ads. To folks who are back, thanks for sitting through those and sticking around. I appreciate it. Probably will end before the next ads. So that was the last of that. Thank you for that. Now we don't have to have any more. Ooh, this guy's recommending a manga series for anyone who is into the Japanese folklore. Cool. I love when book recommendations happen. It's my favorite thing. Well, okay, I say a lot of things are my favorite thing, but I do think that just people talking about books has got to be pretty high up there on my list of favorite things. I did major in comparative literature. It's a lifelong love of books for me. Alright, we got the linen being a little bit funky right now, but I think we are gonna call it like that. I am probably gonna wrap up like fairly soon, not immediately, but before I do, I want to get a status update on everyone's projects or whatever you've been working on if it wasn't a craft. How are things going? Where'd you get to? Do people finish dinner? That peanut butter toast? 500 is a lot of books, Sky. That's a lot of books. I have more than that, and don't know if I should say how many, but I did decide a while ago that, like, you know, it's okay for people to have, like, a thing that they collect, and I think my thing is going to be books, and I'm going to go all in on that, of, like, understanding the sacrifices that means in terms of space and extra work and money when moving, because it brings me joy, and especially, like, as someone who does a lot of research for, like, writing projects and other things that I do, having a lot of nonfiction books just on my shelf to always reference is, like, a legitimately valuable thing for the work that I do. So I've justified my number of books in many ways, but I like to think that I'm also a realist about, like, what it means. Also, I don't pay for books that often. A lot of the books I own I have found on the street or in little free libraries, like, and I buy almost all of my books used. I have a lot of books, and I would bet that the amount of money I have spent on my library is a fraction of what, like, a lot of the people on Book Talk with huge book collections have put into theirs. Okay, let's see, we've got Sarah's gathered almost all the thread. Sarah, you had the big accomplishment of finishing the backstitch, so you get huge props for that. But gathering thread also can take a while if this is a big project, so well done. Peanut butter toast, long gone. Good, good. Tom, not a lot of progress, but you got color number 2 mostly filled in on the llama's legs. The llama is getting legs. What an accomplishment. Llamas need legs, or at least they might like to have them. I can't speak for all llamas, or even any llamas. Oh, practice bracelet done and feeling confident with the pattern, Autumn. Okay, that's awesome. So you can do the dragons for real tomorrow. Bell and I finished about 4x2 of the diamond art, and I might have been confused with earlier messages, but is the one that you're currently working on an 18x24? That's large. Joe got through the doldrums of doing stitches that match the color of cloth. Oh, I try to avoid that when I can. Like, if I do a pattern that has a pretty white thread on a pretty white cloth, I just don't do it and just let the cloth come through. But that's me, and that's not always an option. Ooh, okay, we got people saying what they collect. Books and jigsaw puzzles for Sarah. Coins and stickers and pins and model trains for Door. Oh, yeah, Autumn, arcs. That's the other way that your book collection can get so big for no money. Yeah, I got a lot of arcs as well. Well, I mean, that's the thing about, like, publishing with a publisher, and especially if you, like, live near the publisher, as I did at the time I lived in New York City. So I would go in for a lot of meetings, or different things as we were working on the book. And like anytime I went in, first of all, there's just tables of like arcs and not arcs, just like any like books everywhere, shelves everywhere, and you can just take whatever you want. They encourage you to because they have too many. They're like, please take some books. So I got a lot of books that way, but then also like if you went in there to like do an event, they would sometimes as a gift give you a stack of books, and those were usually good because they'd be like really thoughtfully curated. Like I got some really good books that way. But yeah, it was just like, it's so hard to go into a publishing house and not leave with 10 books. And so I had a couple of years where that would just happen to me, like every couple of weeks, going into Simon & Schuster and leaving with lots of books. Bright Eyes wrote 2 articles on Anton Chekhov. That's great. I don't know where that came from, but I like the energy there. Chekhov, I feel like, is one of those that I knew more about when I was in school and have since forgotten a lot of things about. I'm so behind on the chat. Oh yeah, Rogan, that's also a thing. If you're still storing some books at parents' house, you're like, oh, I have so many books, and they're like, wait, no, I have even more. I do not have that as a thing anymore in my life, but I had that for a while. I actually got rid of, when my dad like moved out of the house that we grew up in, I actually regret how many books I got rid of when he was moving. So I was like, well, I don't want to ship these all across the country, but every now and then I'm like, I thought I owned this book. Nope. Nope, I got rid of it. Oh, Dora's finished 2/3 of the diamond painting. Very well done. Sounds like you have a few days left to finish it, so you're right on track. Yeah, Bell Knight, go to publishing house. Yeah. Oh, and you're working on the 18 by 24. Oof, that is a lot to do. Okay. This. Oh, another stitch here. I think we are having another case of the floss working out perfectly. I think we're just gonna finish this orange of the jack-o'-lantern and call it a night. Laura, mostly just have my book. Yeah, you did end up with a lot of copies of my book. I have a few friends who just ended up with so many copies of my book because they got like an early arc, and then they got a later arc, and then they got the hardcover, maybe multiple copies somehow, and then got the paperback. Sorry to the people in my life who have so many copies of my book. I also have many copies of my book still. They give you a pretty good amount when you publish. Maybe fewer these days. Although I still don't own the ebook or audiobook anywhere. I think I've tried to get my hands on a copy, and I literally don't own my own ebook or audiobook. I want to say I was maybe given a download code for one at some point, and it didn't work, and then someone stopped replying to my email. I think I've like looked up an illegal download of my own ebook at one point because I like needed it for something, and it was too hard to get it anywhere. And I was like, I don't want to pay for my own book. I have the text of it already. Rogan, I totally thought you said wedding and not weeding, and I was like, well, how does that relate? Yes, due for a weeding. I have been weeding a lot of clothes lately. I'm working on like weeding lots of things, but been starting mostly with clothes right now. I think. Looks like I was maybe a little off here somehow. Might have been just short on the width in one direction somewhere at some point. But... oh, and I bet it was to do with the way that the PDF is weird in the app. I bet that's what's happened. And now the eyes are gonna be crooked. That's maybe something I could fix right now? Let's see. I'm gonna frog it a little bit. Because I might be able to at least fix the eye, even though I can't fix the smile. Ah. Yeah, Tom, there's really, there are just so many pros and cons of each situation of working with a big publisher versus self-publishing. Ah, I cannot fix this. This is from the other color. But I can improvise. Rogan still has the hardcover of my book. Oh, that's great. Thank you for that. You got the PDF of my book from Spotify. That's weird. I don't... That's the weird thing about working with big publishers, is you're just like, my book is where? What? Okay. Like, you know, you have a feel for it when all the stuff is first happening, but then later, it's just like, you know, they have distribution rights. I own the copyright, I think, in a way. PDF for the audiobook, not the whole book. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, when did Spotify start doing PDFs? But that does make more sense. It's the supplements with the audiobook. What about our community agreement to embrace mistakes? Joe, you're so right. But there it is. I had a mistake and I'm embracing it by doing a little bit of improvising. Let's just see, how can we make this... I think I'm gonna go here. A realistic jack-o'-lantern. Yes. I mean, I have never carved a perfect jack-o'-lantern. Should I do one here? Yeah, there's not actually a great way to fix this. I'm just trying to imagine like what the eye and what the smile will look like. Be a little bit of a crooked smile. But that's okay. Oh, I also might be able to fix this by just stitching some of the black on top of the orange. But I think that's it. I think we're gonna call that for the night. There's our jack-o'-lantern. Nice. Your new project uses 26 colors. This project only uses 4. 26 is so many. Okay, where am I finishing this? Oh, I know, I'll do this. I say, as you can't see anything that I'm doing. That's okay, I'll turn it back to the pumpkin in just a moment. Put that on the needle minder. Okay. Here we go. There's our jack-o'-lantern for the night. Let's see. Here's the rest of how it's going. There's the horse's glutes that we did last week, largely. Oh no! It was a ghost. Poltergeist. But yeah, so we'll see. I think I might start something different next. I know one pattern that I want to do for at least part of November. And it's one that I've already started, so it'll be a little bit fun. And then there's other ideas that I have, but I feel like just knowing how busy I am for the next week, I probably won't start a fresh new pattern next week's stream. But you know, since Halloween will be over, we might not keep up with this one. I sometimes feel like, as someone who likes a lot of Halloween things year-round, I am like more okay bringing some of those things into my life in like the springtime versus early November. because I feel like so much of like society is just like, it's November 4th, Halloween is over. Like this shirt that I have, I think is so funny to wear in like April, but if I wear it like too early in September or like in November, then it feels like the joke doesn't land in the same way, if that makes sense. And so I'm feeling that way a little bit with this pattern, where I'm like, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow does not necessarily have to be a Halloween thing, but it might feel stale if we're doing it the first week of November, for example. So we might do it more later in the future. I just noticed that we're only one follower away from 110. I should have pushed that a little bit harder. That's okay. Oh, are we gonna raid today? Raiding went so well last week. Christmas in July, Halloween in May. Well, there's Summerween now, which is, people debate whether that is in June or in July. There's like 3 different dates. One of them is like the original Gravity Falls date, which is what Summerween mostly comes from. And then other people are like, it's when some people do it at solstice, and then some people do it like July 5th, where it's like, hey, the next big holiday in America is Halloween, because July 4th is over. There's debate about Summerween. But that's what, I feel like that's the Christmas in July for Halloween, is Summerween. Autumn, I'm glad that you could join too. Oh, well, I'm sorry that you're sick though, but yeah, at least you were able to join all of us while resting, I hope. Oh, Rogan, did you join after our big Nightmare Before Christmas conversation? Yeah, we were talking about that, of like when to watch it. Yes, the short king horse with his big glutes. What was I gonna say? Oh, the other thing I was just gonna say was, I mentioned a few times I've been working on a new YouTube video, and I am pretty convinced that I will finish it and post it, even though I am having to like cut so much out of it from what I actually wanted to do. So there's a part of me that's still like, it's not up to my standards. Am I gonna do it? But I think I'm gonna do it, and I will tease just for all of you here that it is about Halloween and queerness and history. And it's a video that I've been wanting to make for many, many years, at least in terms of the content and like the writing of it. So yeah, look out for that. Hopefully Wednesday, maybe Thursday. Want to give it some time to breathe before, as I said, everyone is over. They're done with Halloween come the 1st. So my YouTube is the same as this channel. It is Jack is Not a Bird. Look out for that. I feel like I had something else twitchy to say. Well, I was like, we could raid. However, I'm very tired. Raiding went so well last week. We raided Maze Makes, and they were great. But I think I might... Well, no, I should, because 2 people raided me tonight, and I should pay it forward. Okay, so let's go find someone to raid. Plus, I feel like I finally figured out how it works, and I need to do that again. Okay, we got someone labeled as Cozy and Chaotic Crochet Chat. They might be cool. I try to find people who also like have something about being like LGBTQ friendly. Oop, no, I wanted to do that. Yeah, Tom, I'm definitely probably gonna raid and run. And Dor, yes, we should workshop a raid message. Last week we did something about like hello from the pumpkin patch, I think. We could just do some kind of play on a Happy Halloween situation. Ooh, someone's doing some spinning, and they're marked as a queer streamer. Looks like they might be cool. Let's see. If I turn this off, then I think you're all not hearing music anymore. Happy Halloween Eve, Eve, Eve. That's pretty good. Oh, you hear music still? Alright, that didn't work then. I mean, now you definitely don't. Okay. I think that this is a really interesting thing this person is doing. I don't know if it's on my end or if they're just like not speaking too much, but the chat seems lively. Their channel is called Tuna Basil, and they're spinning yarn, which just looks super cool. So I think that's a fun thing, and they're a non-binary streamer, so we'll be in good hands. The horseshoe is lit. Okay, let's see what your suggestions are. Jack-o'-lantern raid, Sleepy Hollow, Eve, Eve, Eve. I think I like the goofiness of Halloween Eve, 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 Eve. Dashes might be a lot to have to type, so you don't have to do dashes. Say it however you want. You can say whatever you want, but some variation of Halloween Eve, 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 Eve is goofy to me. So let's do that as our raid message, and I'm gonna remember how to do this. There was like a confirm button last time. That was the key. Okay, so if everyone's ready, we're gonna go raid Tuna Basil, who's doing some yarn spinning, and he looks very cool. And we're gonna say Happy Halloween Eve, 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 Eve. And I'm probably gonna raid and run, but if any of you are still like crafting or chilling and wanna stick around and join that stream, it looks like it'll be a fun one to watch. All right, so thank you all so much for being here with me tonight and being here with me for the whole month of October and this whole autumnal season. Has been very fun. I genuinely hope you all have a very happy Halloween. I mean that very seriously. And yeah, have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much. Here we go.